You've already touched on border security. If that's one of the top priorities immediately, what steps should Congress take to control the flow of immigrants entering the southern border?
So number one, securing the border. That means continuing to build the wall. It also means making sure that our Border Patrol officers, we have increased numbers of Border Patrol officers and CBP officers. It also allows them to do their job, getting rid of catch and release, which has fueled just the release of illegals into our country right now. But it's going to come down to funding of the border wall and funding of our Border Patrol officers.
Let me ask you about the war in Ukraine. Under what conditions would you support direct American military action against Russia?
I do not support boots on the ground of U.S. troops in Ukraine. I did vote in support of defensive lethal aid to Ukraine. I had actually criticized Joe Biden for not providing that aid earlier as a form of deterrence. I think we need an inspector general to oversee those funds, to make sure that there is no corruption, to make sure that the dollars are going where they're intended to go, because these are U.S. taxpayer dollars. I do not think we should be writing an additional blank check when it comes to aid to Ukraine. I think NATO allies of ours need to step up when it comes to contributing to the effort. Ukraine is a really important partner. I've been to Ukraine before on the House Armed Services Committee delegation. We want them to continue to partner with Western countries. And when it comes to Russia, Russia is an adversary, and I have a very strong record of standing up against Russia and make sure that we're supporting our Eastern European flank, for example, to push back on Putin's illegal acts.
If China uses military force in Taiwan, how should the U.S. respond?
I am deeply fearful of China, who is paying very close attention to not only Joe Biden's catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal, but also the ongoing war in Ukraine. And China, not just this past year, but for the past year since I've been in Congress, has continued to assert themselves in the Asia-Pacific region. They have continued to threaten Taiwan. I believe we need to provide defensive aid increased now to Taiwan to make sure that Taiwan is able to defend itself. And I'm deeply, deeply concerned about that. House Republicans are going to start a China committee, a China Select Committee that would be bipartisan to deal with this, what I believe is the greatest threat of our generation when it comes to a rising China and the influence they're trying to seek across the globe.
When it comes to addressing climate change, do you still support the Paris Climate Accord agreements? Or given the rise in gas and fuel prices, has your position changed?
I don't support the Paris Climate Accord agreements. Again, this is an example where you have countries like China and India and developing nations who are not held to any standard. And the reality is, under President Trump, the country that cut emissions most significantly was the United States. I mean, we have led the world in cleaner technology, and that is not because of government mandates. That's because of ingenuity in the private sector. And right now, under Biden, you have an administration looking to countries like Russia, who is an adversary, with much dirtier energy, to import that rather than producing cleaner American energy here. So I support an all-of-the-above energy approach. I think we need to move back aggressively towards energy independence rather than being reliant upon Russian energy or OPEC.
Keystone Pipeline, should that be revived?
Yes, I support the Keystone Pipeline, and when I was first elected, that was one of the first votes I took in support of the Keystone XL pipeline.
And let me just follow up real quickly. The Paris Accord, did you not support that earlier on, the Paris Climate Accord?
I have concerns both with the implementation, but also other countries who are not abiding by it, and the United States taking on more strict regulations than other countries that are developing, that are polluting and increasing their emissions as we are decreasing our emissions because of the cleaner technologies we have in oil and gas companies.
Help me understand, has your position changed on it?
My position is I have deep concerns about the Paris Agreement, and I support President Trump withdrawing from the Paris Agreement.